Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a pros and cons of the Hobonichi weeks. I previously did a pros and cons of the Hobonichi cousin, so if you're curious about that, check that out on my channel previously. You can see everything that I like about the cousin, everything that I hate about the cousin, and leave your own feedback in the comments as well. I'd love for you to do this for this planner too, so if you like things about the weeks that I hate, or you hate things about the weeks that I like, or if I didn't mention a pro or a con for you, please leave them down in the comments. And then if you are new to the Hobonichi weeks and you're thinking about buying it during this Hobonichi season, you can head down in the comments as well and see people's reactions and other pros and cons that I may not have mentioned. So I have the Hobonichi weeks Mega in the sneaker cover edition. You can see this is a little bit beat up. The front cover is bent slightly and I've cut it in places so that it fits better in certain covers. So yeah, so we're going to be talking about all the pros and cons for the Hobonichi weeks for this particular edition of the Hobonichi weeks, and some ones that are general and apply broadly across the weeks collection. I will say I am going to be getting 2 weeks, so not just one, but 2 weeks for the upcoming 2023 launch. I've already purchased them. They're in the mail. I'm excited to receive them and use them, but I did really like this planner. This was the first year of me using it, and I'm just a really big fan. So I did buy 2 more, and I plan to use them all throughout 2023 to give you a brief idea of how I think about this planner. Very positive. Quick price note on the Hobonichi weeks before we begin. The Hobonichi weeks is cheaper than the Hobonichi cousin, or I believe it's also cheaper than the Hobonichi Techo, the like A6 size as well, but the price varies quite a lot. So the cheapest I've seen them for is $15, and this is for the base weeks in a color that's, you know, just one of their basic collection without the Mega Pages, anything like that. And the most expensive I've seen it is for $40, and that's for an artistically designed cover. Sometimes adding additional pages, like having it in a Mega, makes the price go up, but for many of the covers that they get, they will have an added price because they're doing things like licensing material or licensing artwork and stuff like that, and have to work with the artist on an artist to artist basis to figure out how much they're going to add to the base week's price. So I think I paid like $16 or $17 for the Sneaker Weeks Mega when I originally bought it, but the cheapest I saw for a base weeks on the website right now is $15, and the cheapest I've seen for the base weeks Mega is $18. So that's about what you're planning to pay. But again, if you get another cover that's like licensed from an artist or licensed from like another media company like a Disney or an Animal Crossing, it's going to up the price a little bit just because that's how licensing works. As with all Japanese planners, shipping can be quite a lot from Japan. You can buy these from the Hobonichi store directly, but shipping will be like $30. So if you're just buying an $18 planner and paying $30 in shipping for it, you may want to instead opt to buy it from Amazon or JetPens, which sell to the United States, and the price varies there based on what they're able to work out with Hobonichi. So you may want to choose where you buy it very carefully, or you may want to bulk buy it with a friend or with other planners and materials that you're planning on buying from Hobonichi so you can offset the cost of the shipping. Okay, let's get into the pros and cons now that we've covered the basics. A little bit of background about why I bought this planner. Initially, I was really excited by the idea of something that was so small. I had spent a lot of time in the cousin. Again, see my video for the pros and cons. I'll leave that linked up in the card somewhere. But I was really excited about the perspective of seeing a planner through the perspective of something so tiny and so easy to carry around. In 2022, I was back in the office, so I needed something smaller to take to work, and it just seemed like a good fit for my new sort of like experiment of 2022. I did end up getting the Sneaker Weeks Mega because it was more flexible, it was cheaper, and it was slightly smaller as well. But I knew I wanted the Mega because I wanted all these extra pages here in the back, which I didn't end up using truly. I still have so many of them and only a few months of the year to go. So I don't know if that's a pro or con for you. We'll talk about it. But essentially I bought the Mega because I wanted those extra pages just in case, and I bought the Sneaker because it was a little bit cheaper and it was a little bit smaller. I will say, yeah, that the Sneaker Weeks size is quite a bit smaller. The planner is more flexible. Like you can see, this cover is pretty flexible if that matters to you. Whereas the hardbacked weeks, the 2 weeks that I'm getting next year are going to be the hardbacked weeks, and those are slightly bigger. I bought this plastic case, and you can kind of see here that it's a little bit bigger than the sneaker weeks. Let's sort of like line it up. Yeah, so on the spine, you can see that this is about the size of the hardback weeks, and you can see that it's like, you know, a centimeter here, a centimeter there, a little bit smaller. So I think the pages are about the same size, but that is something to consider when you're buying the weeks, is what type of cover that you want. And I'll actually start there with my first pro. The first pro that I have is the covers. This planner has tons of different options when it comes to covers. Most of them, like I said, are hardback and thus very reliable because this is a little bit flimsier. I did buy the plastic cover, and I also have a weeks cover from Moterm, which I really, really love. But you can see that even though this cover is quite a bit bigger, it's still really, really small and really portable. I mean, it's like a little bit bigger than the size of my hand. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a portable planner. You can throw it in your bag, take it wherever you're going. This makes it a great contender for like an everyday carry, or like a wallet planner. I know a lot of people put this in their wallet and use it as sort of like a financial planner. It makes it just really durable and really easy to carry around, again, unless you are getting the sneaker weeks, which is a bit flimsier. But for most of them, you don't need to purchase an additional cover for it, like I have. That's just a bonus if you want to do that. And the variety of covers are also great. The colors that they come out with for the week's covers are usually very beautiful, and they'll also have series that have sort of these like patterned covers that have little figures like bunnies or characters from shows or video games, or they'll have artistic covers. I'll put some examples of some on the screen that are available for 2023, but they'll have like artistic covers from artists and things like that can really make this a very customizable experience, customizable planner as you're taking it around, and sort of you can pick which one is best suited for you. So love the covers. It makes it very portable, and it also means for most of them that you don't have to buy another cover on top of buying a planner. Pro number 2, and I already hinted at this a little bit, is the size. It is so small. It's about 7 inches and change high and about 3 inches and change wide. So if you need something that is easy to throw in your bag, that you don't really have to worry about like the weight of it impacting your day-to-day travels or your commute to and from your office or wherever you go to do your work or your business or your school, this is such a good option. And in contrast to planners like the Hobonichi Cousin, which I also have here, and you can see is like, it doesn't even really fit in the frame that I have set up, because the frame I've set up for the Hobonichi Weeks, and it's so much bigger at the A5 size and so much heavier as well. So that's one of the things I really love about the Hobonichi Weeks is its portability. The second pro that I have is the weekly layout itself. This is one of my favorite weekly layouts ever to work with. I've also used, I think Moleskine, or Moleskine, however you say it, also has a weekly planner like this that I've used. I used that a lot when I was in college, so I think this is a great layout for students, but I also love this layout for work. I work in an office and I have tons of tasks to do every day, like really small little tasks that I have to do, but what this small size weeks enables me to do is really prioritize here on the left side what I actually have to get done each day. Like maybe 5 or 4 tasks fit here, which means I can really easily narrow down and prioritize, and I don't even have the space to write any of the like garbage things that come through my inbox every day, which if you're someone like me who gets distracted really easily, or again has like tons of tasks to do, this helps prioritize so much, and it's such a nice feature. But also this empty space over here is super flexible, so a lot of times what I will do is emphasize this dividing line that's here, write sort of moods or notes in here about like how I was feeling that day, and then this is just a blank free space for writing task lists, tracking habits, writing notes, anything like that. So you can see here, I just expanded upon something that I had in my moods column, just taking random notes of random thoughts. You can see I really tracked my moods here, tracking a few habits in this one. And then I had notes and again, like priorities and events. This is actually a really typical one of how I split it up, with events over here, priorities right here, moods for the day, habits, notes, very typical setup for me. On the weekly layout, there's also even spaces for the weekends, which is really nice. I don't work on the weekends, and I use this planner primarily for work. So I often don't find myself using these spaces, but I do like to have them just in case I want to pre-plan or note a few things for the weekend, or in case I do find myself working on the weekend. But for most people, I think most people who are big fans of Hobonichi really like this as a feature of all of their planners, that they have Saturday and Sunday split out, because as we know, not everybody has a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. So having that split out really, really helps. The delineating lines here are also really helpful on the weekly layout. So you can see it has, if we look closely, it has just little faint sort of dots, one right there and one right there. So you can split up this section however you want. Like I showed you previously, I usually like to split it once down here so that I have a slightly wider space in my priorities, a slightly less wide space in my events column. And it also has a very faint line right here that helps you divide this up if you need a little bit more space for this column, or if you just want to use this for like moods and things like that, like I do. I really, really cannot stress enough that I love this weekly layout, and it is the reason I'm going to be buying more planners like the Hobonichi Weeks in 2023. Another pro of this planner is the memo pages in the back. So it starts with a sort of notes delineating page at the last week of the year is here, and then you have the notes pages. It has a little mini index here. I don't ever find myself using the little mini index, but you can if you want. And then it just goes into blank pages, which you can use for notes, sketches, trackers, basically anything. This planner is so small that these extra pages really are essential to making the planner feel like it has enough space to breathe. Plus they are numbered, and if you get a mega, you can really expand this planner into more than it is at first. I've seen some people successfully transform this into a true one planner system using the mega pages for things like trackers, journaling, daily pages, meeting notes, scrapbooking. You can just do anything back here, which is awesome. Like I said, I did buy the mega. I'm not going to buy the mega for 2023 because I'm buying 2 planners and because I just didn't find myself using these pages as much as I would, but it was always nice to know that I could use these planners for things like pen tests, random notes, random thoughts, etc., etc. So, weeks memo pages, definitely a pro. The 5th pro, I think we're on the 5th pro. Another pro is the paper. It is Tomoe River paper, and it is that very thin, almost Bible-like paper where it's very smooth. I just really, really like the Tomoe River paper personally. I also talked about this in my video about the Hobonichi cousin, and this is true of all Hobonichi planners. They all use this type of paper, but I'm a big fan of it because it feels luxurious to use. The user experience is great. I really like the crinkling. When it's a blank page like this, you know, it has this sort of tenor, but like after you use these pages enough, they just begin to adopt a texture that's really, really nice, and you can feel, you know, you're writing through on the other side of the page as well. You can kind of see it ghosting. For some people that may be a big con, and that's totally okay, but for me, it is definitely a pro. I really like feeling the planner respond to my use and feel how unique the experience is using it when I've already used it, if that makes sense. So I really like the Tomoe River paper. Like I said in my last video, it works really beautifully for things like ballpoint pens and fountain pens. I don't personally use fountain pens, but this is what I've observed from looking at other people's setups. However, if you want to use gel pens, it can be a bit tough. I used to have a favorite gel pen that I would use with all my planners, and once I moved into Hobonichi, I could no longer use it because it just smears like really, really fast. It takes forever to dry, and you can't write over it or highlight it over it like ever. So now I just use the Uniball Jetstream in 0.5, which is the same type of pen that Hobonichi gives you for free with its planners. So they do always give you, when you buy a planner, they give you a pen that you can use with that planner, which is really great of them given that the paper is so unique. But if you have a favorite pen and it's a gel pen, you may want to consider the paper a little bit more intensely. Another pro of this planner is that it has the moon phases, which I think is great. It has it on every single day in the weekly section, which is again where you're spending most of your time in this planner anyway. And I think that's awesome. I plan a lot of my spiritual work by the moon. It doesn't always line up perfectly to the US moon dates because this is in Japanese, and so the day will be like 1 or 2 days off. Instead of being on the 25th, like the new moon might be on like the 24th or the 26th, for example. But it means that I don't need to add moon phases into my planners when I use them. And it also means that I can just see at a glance when the new moon or full moon is coming up and sort of plan my spiritual work around that, which is just a pro for me personally. Okay, let's get into the cons of this planner, which kind of you'll find mirror the pros a little bit. Some of the pros are definitely cons. So let's talk about the first one, which is the size. Sometimes this does feel too small, especially if you're used to using like a B6 or an A5 planner. This can feel really, really tiny. Sometimes I've seen people, if they're using a Weeks Mega, be able to use this as a one and done planner. Personally, for me, I don't think that's really possible. I think this works really, really well for prioritizing and for organizing like maybe one issue. So that's why I got 2 for next year, so I could use 1 for work and 1 for another project. Because it is quite small, and so trying to organize like many various projects, side hustles, work, everything like that into one of these tiny little guys can be quite difficult. So I've seen most people use it as like a one subject planner or like a catch-all everyday carry that they'll then use to update another sort of main planner that they're gonna keep for the full year. But that said, it does work really well for those small like one issue things, like if you're just using it for work or if you're just using it for finance or just health or something like that. It works super well for that. The second con I have is the cream colored paper. So this paper is, like I said, it's a Tomoe River paper, but it's not white. Let me show you in comparison to the cousin. The Hobonichi cousin paper is considered bright white. I know a lot of people don't feel like this is actually like truly white, but as you can see, it's very different than the cream colored paper of the Weeks. And you don't have the option to buy the Weeks in a bright white or a white version. For me, this is not so bad. I can find sort of bright white paper sometimes very taxing on the eyes if I've been looking at a screen all day. So I kind of like the cream colored, but I will say, as someone who uses stickers in their planner quite a lot, it does kind of bother me to see, like this is a good example. This is a sticker kit I was trying. Obviously I didn't end up using this page, but you can see the white that is around these stickers just sort of stands out quite a lot on the page and doesn't really blend in as seamlessly as maybe a transparent sticker would do. It's kind of a pro and a con, but I will say, as someone who uses stickers, it tempts me to buy those transparent matte stickers, which, as we know, are much more expensive than the plain sort of white sticker paper. The third con is the yearly layout. This page is so small. It's just impossible to use. I was trying to use it for a while as a movement and weight tracker, like trying to track my weight up here and track my movement down here. I'm not very good with trackers, so this was never going to be a full page anyways, but how I would like to use it in the future is like by writing dates and stuff down in here, say birthdays and things like that, but these boxes are just so small when you're trying to write. You can see like the word walk barely fits in this section. So if you're going to be using it for tracking dates and stuff like that, I don't know, use tiny icons, use a key, use something like that, because it is just so small. It's just very hard to find something that is perfect to use for this. So this is a con for me, ultimately. I wish they had just split it up between like January, February, March, April, May, June, and then had another page, you know, but they didn't. So kind of a con. Another con for me is actually going back to the weekly layout, these quotes down here at the bottom. On all of the weekly pages, there are these Japanese quotes, and it just means that there is less space to write on the page. In such a small planner, this seems like a real waste. For example, like these boxes this is almost like another full box. Like they could be much longer, which would enable you to write more into the page. This could be gone, and it would enable you to write more on the spare page over here. I don't find myself really paying attention to these Japanese quotes too much, but I do kind of wish that they weren't there, because it means I would have a little bit more space to do my planning stuff. And the other thing is that it's very tempting, as you can see that I've done on this page, it's very tempting to washi over the Japanese quotes so that you don't see them, because it's just dead space. You can't really write on them. So a lot of people do washi over them, but over time, because the Tomoe River paper is so thin, the washi stack will build up and it'll end up sort of being like a bump. Like I'm going to try to replicate it. It'll end up being sort of like a bump here so that when you try to write on it, it's bad. It's just, there's no other way to explain it. It just gets that bump and it ends up being like an unpleasant writing experience once you get down towards Saturday and Sunday. And it will make your weeks chunk up weirdly. So you can see mine is sort of chunking up evenly, but people who have their washi tape strips all down at the bottom, it looks like kind of like this, where this part is really, really wide and this part is really skinny. So that's kind of a con for me. I don't really like them. I think they're a waste of space in such a small planner. I wish they had just left them out. The last con for me, and this is true of all Hobonichi planners, are these pages in the back that are like these info pages. I know that they're coming out with an English version of the weeks, and so these will be in English next time, but I just find them pretty useless. Like, I can't read them. I don't really care about them. I wish they had just given us some extra pages here in the back instead of this. Now, I know you can go on Etsy and you can find lots of sort of inserts that are either printed on sticker paper or that you can print out yourself and stick into the back and cover these up and make them more useful. There are a couple of them, like, Year 100, which here I've done for books that I've read. Oops, don't look at my finances there. Or there's like measurements and stuff. You can record your measurements. I don't know, might be useful to some people, but for me, ultimately, it's just kind of not very useful. Okay, that concludes my pros and cons of the Hobonichi weeks. As I said before, I am very excited for 2023 because I am getting 2 of these planners. So even though I just listed out all of my cons, I still really, really like this planner, and I think it's kind of perfect for me, mainly because it helps me prioritize just so effectively with the weekly section. This sort of like limited space that you have here really, really helps, at least for my brain, helps me prioritize and make sure that I'm writing down just what I need to do and not all of the extra stuff that comes up during the day that people want me to do. Just my priorities, and that is really, really awesome and helpful. I think I will probably be using this planner next year in conjunction. Obviously, I'm buying 2 of them, but I'll be also using it in conjunction with a more full-size planner in the B6 size, as sort of like a permanent record planner and bigger goal planner. But these I'm definitely planning for my everyday carry. So I'm very excited about that. And if you want to see what covers I've gotten and what other products from Hobonichi I bought this year, stay tuned. I will be having a Hobonichi unboxing as soon as that comes in the mail. So get excited, get ready. We're going to talk all about the weeks a little bit more, and hang out on my channel if you want to see some setups as well, because I'll definitely have those coming towards the end of November, which, oh my gosh, bonus pro at the end of the video, at the very end of the video. One other thing that I love about this planner is that it starts in December. Okay, I can't believe I forgot to mention that, but yeah, it starts in December. So it has the December monthly, and then it has the last week of November, or rather the first week of December, just whatever week the first falls on. It has the first week of December, and that's where it starts. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot to mention that pro, because it is actually one of the reasons I really, really love this planner. It just means that you get to start your planner sooner, which is great. And it means that you just get to move into your planner sooner. And if you're trying to prep your planner, you don't have to like go back and forth. Yeah, so that's a major feature I really like about this planner. Wow, I can't believe I forgot to mention that until the very end of the video. So anyways, stick around my channel. We'll be talking more about the weeks to come. Check out my Hobonichi cousin pros and cons list, and leave your own pros and cons for the weeks down below. I'd love to hear them. All right, thank you. I'll see you next time. Bye.